Goodness to you. Yeah, this is Sporty King coming at you live. And I always say goodness because I don't know whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening that you're watching the broadcast. But isn't it great that you can add good in front of your salutation? That's the way I like to start it. But I always say, welcome to Glue Wednesday. I see I got the thumbs up there from somebody. I don't know who you are, but you know I come on early on Wednesday so I can give shout outs. So go on and put your name in there, make a comment, and let me give you a shout out. That'll be fine with me. I love doing it. But anyway, this is my first Glue Wednesday broadcast of 2022. Yes. Very cool, right? And if this is your first time, because someone said, man, you got to watch this guy, Sporty King's broadcast it's on Facebook, it's on LinkedIn, it's on YouTube, and it's on his website. You got to watch it. It'll really uplift your day. They didn't tell you a lie. So let me tell you why I actually started Glue Wednesday. But first, I got to give my shout out to my boy in Chicago, Tommy Williams. Good morning to you too, Tommy. Yeah, that's my stepping mentor. Man, I used to do stepping dancing. I used to do some dancing when I was in Chicago. Tommy, you know, I just got my new knee in September. So I'm stepping lightly right now, making sure that I can walk one foot in front of the other more so than worry about dancing. So it's very cool. But it's good to see you, my brother. Welcome aboard. Again, if this is your first time watching Glue Wednesday, I created it, back in 2017, because so often we hear people call Wednesday hump day. And so I always say, well, you know what? I like to put a positive spin on things. And the reason we call it hump day, because old school rules. And old school, we used to just say you work the week or you work the weekend. We never talked about flex time, though there obviously always was flex time, because there have always been hotels and supermarkets, etc. But so we had the term hump day. Well, I've decided that hump is not really a negative word, but can't we get a little bit more positive by recognizing that Wednesday is the day of the week that keeps the week beginning and the week end together? So I call it the glue. See, it keeps us so it's more important for us to keep things together than it is for us to hump. And the glue is Glue. God's love undoes everything. Not that God's love will tear things apart, but that it will put stuff together, which is a perfect time to put Tommy's yes sir in there, because that's what God's love does. It doesn't tear it apart. It helps you keep it together. And that's what we want to make sure we're doing. So we've got less than 2 minutes for today's message. But that's what I always do, is come on early on Glue Wednesday to do what they call build the audience. And it's personal choice when you're presenting, if you're doing a live broadcast. A lot of people say, come on when it's time for you to talk. But I've noticed that a lot of people come on, so that, for instance, it's scheduled for 1 o'clock Eastern. Some people come on at 1 and then they say, well, let me wait for more people to get here. Well, come on earlier and wait for more people to get here, all right? That's just my personal opinion, because I also believe I do not penalize the people who are on time. So if I say I start at 1, I start at 1. And that's a principle that you have to have as a speaker, but I think you could also have it in your life, whether you're hosting a party for yourself or for someone else. Give a starting time and you train your audience that you start on time. And that actually goes towards your good reputation for being conscious of other people's time. Just personal philosophy, not saying anybody's wrong, but everybody does things differently. I don't have a problem expressing how I do them. Tommy's got his birthday coming up on the 10th. So, God, Tommy, hey, you see, I was going to talk about it later, but see in my background, you see that 55? If you look up closer, what it says born in 19 and then 55. That's my new Spurs jersey. I was going to talk about it later in the broadcast, but you know what? I don't say, hey, I'm not going to talk about it till I get to it. You bring it up, I got to talk about it. We got less than a minute for today's message. But yeah, Tommy, so I'm glad to see that you're about to experience another 365 in a different way. And that's part of our topic today is Happy New Year. As people say, Happy New Year. Yeah, but you know what? January 1st is the start of a new 365 for a calendar year. January 10th will be Tommy's start of a new 365 for a new birth blessing year. So that's what I want to say to you. One of the things I want to say, and I always remind people, don't let a man-made calendar restrict your celebration. It's always Mother's Day. It's always Father's Day. It's always Black History Month. It's always American History Month. You know, it's always whatever you celebrate, because every day starts a new day and starts a new 365. And so that's why we're starting our Glue Wednesday right here in 2022, reminding you that it is the glue that makes a difference. And so that's why my topic today is Happy New Year. You know, Y-E-A-H. Yeah, you know, because we hear people say Happy New Year, but it's Happy New Year. Don't you want to start out thinking of ways to say yes? Because you know what? That's how powerful words are. Your yes makes a big difference in a lot of people's lives. A lot of times we think about the no's, but it's the yes that makes a difference in how people go forward and how they continue to prosper. So what I'm going to do is take my and by the way, one of the things I also do, and so Tommy's talking about his birthday coming up on the 10th, Tommy, you're going to get a message from me. I always start a birthday theme for each year. I started in August with my birthday, and just like everybody sends you happy birthday, well, I have a message that I send for everybody's birthday, and mine's I wasn't thinking about it, talking about it, but it says, you know, what have you got? May your year be a year, and what have you got to add to make you say yeah? And so that's what, you know, that's why I decided if my topic today should be Happy New Year, so that you can see what I think it takes to make up a year. So I'm going to use the 4 letters in year, and I'll use that to create my message. And I'm going to be asking you to drop some stuff in the thread, even if you're watching the video. And by the way, remember, anybody, you want to put a comment in there. I love to give shout outs. So, but even if you're watching the video, still put something in the thread, because it makes a difference when somebody goes back and reads it and they can see some commonalities between what's on their mind and what's on yours. So here's what my year is going to be made of today. It's going to be made of Y-E-A-H. You, yesterday, experience, emotions, attitude, atmosphere, happy, and health. Those are the words that when we put them together, I'm going to tell you that's how we're going to put our year together. So first, we're going to start with the first one, which is you. And you, which is the number one and best way to start anything. You have to put and keep yourself first. A lot of people say, well, you know, I got to put God first. I got to keep God first. No, you don't. You can't put God anywhere else. God is first. And what you do have to do is keep him first in your mindset. But he will always, because he will always fit into that spot. So he puts himself first by waking you up every day, and he keeps himself first by blessing you as he does along the way. But we've got to have that mindset that recognizes that. So that's why we've got to put ourselves first and keep ourselves first. Fast forward, the H is going to be health. And so, you know, that's going to be about taking care of yourself. But let's keep going with the Y, about you. You see, people say that when you talk to yourself, it's okay. Uh-oh, good. I got to say hi to my Roger Carroll. Yeah, hello in 2022. Hey, y'all, remember the movie Room 222? Old school, 22 coming back. Hey, and what's going on, General Jones? Jeff Jones, one of my good buddies, man. How you doing with your Dawn Key diet? I'm going to bring it up before you do. This made my day. Thank you. And I got some more stuff to make your day. Hang in there. Here we go. Okay? But here's one of the things that a lot of people talk about when they're talking about you. And so I want you to think about this. What does Daffy Duck says? He says, of course I talk to myself. Sometimes I need an expert opinion. Well, see, people say that, hey, it's okay to talk to yourself. Just don't answer yourself, because then you're crazy. I say when we're talking about a year, it's important for us to answer ourselves. Don't just talk to yourself, answer yourself. You see, if you won't answer you, who else will? And why else should somebody answer you? You have to talk to yourself, and then you can't help talking to yourself. We all talk to ourselves. Nobody, don't act like you don't talk to yourself. Everybody talks to themselves, questions their actions, thinks about their motives, considers their options. We all talk to ourselves. When you pray, you're talking to yourself. The key is, I want you to start remembering to answer yourself. And don't think about what the people say that's, you know, you're crazy when you answer yourself, because the key is how you answer and what you say. So here's some positive self-talk things that you want to say to yourself. Thank you. Look in the mirror. Thank you. I love you. I forgive you. I believe in you. I am you. That's the positive self-talk. That's the answer we want to give ourselves. And we have to thank ourselves because so many times we do stuff and we say, well, I just did it because I had to do it. But no, thank you, because sometimes the things you do save someone's life. In fact, I'm going to quickly click down to Lordessa, who I see. I've got the good vibes for 2022 and you all greetings from, she's in Costa Rica. And I met her years ago and we were in Arizona. And here's somebody, as I talk about, when you say thank you about the good things you do. We were both involved with the youth program called, oh God, I can't remember it. Lordess, you can put it in there if you like, please. But she does things to help people. And we were doing things to help kids at the time. So, thank yourself when you bless somebody, when you mentor somebody, you change their lives. You won't always get the thank you from others. That's why it's important to thank yourself. Pat yourself on the back. I go back to General Jones, Jeff Jones, and see, in the military, the South Carolina Army National Guard, I always talk to my military family and I say, don't forget to pat yourself on the back, because America asks you to turn your emotions, and that's in our thing today, isn't it? Emotions, turn your emotions on and off at the drop of an order, and you do it. But do you give yourselves credit? It's not an easy thing to do. Civilian world, come on, you know it. Imagine if you suddenly were told, okay, this is your order, so you will not be spending Christmas. You will not get to share Thanksgiving. There will be no physical Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. You won't see the birth of your child. This is what our military. So as we thank our military, and please feel free to throw it in the thread. Thank you to our military. But that's the thing we've got to recognize. What are we really thanking people for? We need to thank them for being who they are. And just as we're thanking them for being who they are, guess what? We have to thank ourselves for being who we are. Because who do you want thanks from? You want thanks from someone who is appreciative of what they have. That's why they can appreciate what they see that you have. And that's just another way of looking at it. So think about that. And I'm gonna stop right here, get quick there, because since long I'm telling you what I want to tell, as long as I'm telling you what I tell my military. I always say to them, I don't always say, but I said at this beginning of this year, is that we've got 2 diets that we have to worry about in terms of the holiday season and all the eating. And I laugh. I say we got 2. We've got the Urkel denial diet, and that's the diety. Did I eat that? But we also have the Dawn Key pet diet. And the Dawn Key pet diet, I put it on a post before, but the Dawn Key pet diet, if you think about it, here, Dawn Key, and that is keep your ass out of the refrigerator. Okay, so now say, oh my God, he's cursing. No, go on and say Dawn Key real fast, and sooner or later you'll be saying donkey. I don't mind going to give away the joke a little bit, all right? But that's what we have to do, and so that's been our fun, laughing joke with me and Jones all the while. So thank you for bringing that up again. And then, Lordess, get me back on track. What you say? It was the Computer Clubhouse Network. Yes, we were working with young kids in terms of, and talking to them about technology. Thank you for doing that, Lordess. And she was also my Latin instructing teacher. We went out dancing because all of us who were there for the training to find ways to help these kids. Again, we have to thank ourselves for those connections that we made, because we connected so that we could help someone else. So tell yourself thank you. Tell yourself I love you. How often do we do that? One thing we do a lot is, see, words go into our spirit, and we tell ourselves, oh, I don't like how I look in this outfit. I don't like how I acted. I don't like how I responded. I don't like what this is. We tell ourselves a lot what we don't like about ourselves. So turn those 2 things around. One, I do want you to say, I like. Yeah, I like this outfit. Don't, you went and bought it, and go on and say you like it, and then tell yourself. But also, tell yourself, I love you. Look in the mirror and say, I love you. I look in my mirror and I give myself a wink. I do. I've been doing that, God knows, for years and since my teens. I give myself a wink. And I say, go on, boy, you do your thing. I love you. So that's the self-talk that we have to have, because if you don't love yourself, you don't have love to give to anybody else, because you don't have what it takes. You know why you should love yourself. And now when you give someone else love, you know how precious this thing that you're giving them, all the reasons that you love yourself, you're giving this to someone else. So that, that has to make that bond special. And that's one of the things that, I'm a great, hey, I'm single, but I respect marriage, and I love to see good relationships, people working at what they can do. But you gotta love yourself so that you can have something to give. And then you have to forgive yourself. You're going to trip up even in those relationships, but even in life, you're going to make mistakes. But you have to forgive yourself. It's not about somebody else forgiving you. I'll forgive and forget. No. I don't care if you do or do not forgive me. I have to forgive myself. Because 9 out of 10 times or 8 out of 10 times, someone's not going to forgive you. So is that going to now impact your life where you don't move forward being yourself because they won't forgive you? When you know, this is where that love comes in, you know why you did what you did, and you may know that your intentions were good, but it didn't come out that way. So now someone was hurt. Because a lot of times we hurt people by accident through our actions, but our intentions may have been good, but just didn't come out right. We have to forgive ourselves so that we can go on and love ourselves and thank ourselves so that we can help the next person by having the right spirit through what we learn. That's coming up too. And then we have to believe in ourselves. You have to believe in yourself. It's not a good idea. You have to. It's nice when other people believe in you, but if you don't believe in you, you can't go forward. You have to continuously believe in yourself. You have to fall down. We fall down and we get up. You have to keep believing, because I am you. Are you telling yourself that? Who are you? That is what makes a difference. It's not really about who all the other people are. So I'm going to quickly, as I talk about who are you, I'm going to quickly look at some comments. You serve too. Thank you. That's right. That's right. I am an official. I am a captain in the South Carolina Army National Guard, as inducted by my dear friend General Jones. So I appreciate that. I'm serving now, even though I did not serve. And General McCarty, hey, what's going on, General McCarty? Man, it is so good to see you, man. Two great generals. I mean, I'm going to say this while you're there, General McCarty. May not mean it to a lot of our civilian watchers today, but let me tell you something. In every branch of the service, of the Army, I can't act like I'm an expert on all of them, but definitely there's something called the Adjutant General of each state. And that's the general who's in charge of all of the military action for that state. And so when I first started on my contract with the Yellow Ribbon, speaking to militaries, and I went to South Carolina, and I always saw the Adjutant General and his wife speaking at the event. And I was, oh man, this is so cool. They've come up with a reason to have the general come speak, and they've created this position, because I had never heard of Adjutant General. Because you know what? It wasn't until 2 years later, and I've been around the country speaking at these events. It wasn't until 2 years later that I met another adjutant general at a different state. It was in West Virginia. And I had spoken in several states, and I never saw another one. And so I've actually since then only seen 2 other states' adjutant general come to their event. I say that because when I speak to the people in South Carolina, to my military family in South Carolina, I remind them, don't take it for granted. You think it's the adjutant general is supposed to show up. No, these 2 men, General McCarty and General Jones, they take it upon themselves to make sure they show up before their soldiers deploy and after when they come back, to make sure they know they have a presence and support system, and they want to keep it together. So I thank them and bless them for that. So if you need something else to be thankful for, that's one of the things that I am. So good to see you, General McCarty. And LOL, that's no laughing matter. That's LOL, that's lots of love. And now I'm looking at who am I? Lord S, thank you for all those great memories. Yes, and memories is one of the things I'm going to mention. See, you can't make this stuff up, y'all. The synchronicity comes when you come on broadcast. because the things you say, I prepare a message and I go a little bit off script, not much, but that's why Wednesday I do my interactive, so I'm free to go off script. But on Mondays and Fridays, I stick to my script if you're familiar with my broadcast, and you will have the chance to do that. But yeah, those memories are so important, and I'm going to talk about memories as we get further down, as I think on my year YEAH, what's the A? Where's the memory? The memories are going to come in. I can't remember in advance. Okay, but they're going to come in, Lord. So be on deck. And then who am I? Gosh, Deborah Laurie. We grew up together. We were started out in junior high school together back in New York City. And so it's good to see my friend going that far back. That's who we are. That's a memory. You know, Deborah and I go back to teenage. Lourdes and I go back to adulthood. What was I in? I guess I was in my 30s when I did that. My military family, I started doing that in my 50s. Wow. Tommy, I met back in Chicago. I was in my late 20s. See, these are all memories. Roger Carroll is also Chicago, in my 20s. So these are memories, and they make a difference. So yeah, you have to be thankful for the great memories, and we're going to bring that up again. But again, welcome aboard, Deborah. So let me keep rolling and ask you, just think, what else? What are some positive self-talk things that you should say to yourself? That's what you want to think about every now and then. What else could you be saying to yourself? And then the other why and yeah is yesterday. And just like you is the number one best thing that you should do, yesterday is the number two best way to start. You have to use yesterday and you have to let it go. You see, when I first started my speaking business, I had 3 base beliefs that I use in my business. And that's Sportyism number 1, 2, and 3. Sportyism number 3 says we always wish today were tomorrow, except when we're with loved ones. Then we wish tomorrow were yesterday. See, the thing is, you have to realize that you never make it to tomorrow. Today is the only day that you can live. Every time you get to tomorrow, what happens? It's today. And you can't relive yesterday. You can only use it as a guideline for what's going on in your today. So did you learn something that's helping you deal with today, or something that you dread about today? What have you learned? What have you learned that has helped you deal with today? That becomes your key. So in fact, why don't we go on and drop a couple of things in the thread there? What did you learn about today that has been helpful to you? What did you learn? Because you can't do tomorrow. So I'm going to give a pause, because there's a delay between the live broadcast and what shows up on my screen. So you may see it quicker than I am. But I want to get a couple of things. What is something that you learned about yesterday that is guiding you? Let me see. How did I put that? Yep. Oh, okay. My bad. You know what I want you to put? Something that you let go. Since we're talking about you can't live tomorrow and you can't keep yesterday. What's something that, okay, Deborah, tomorrow is not promised. And what is something about yesterday that you let go? What is something about yesterday that you let go? And again, if you're watching the video, you can still put that in the comments, because we love to add up and see all the things that people have, kept and let go and believed, because we need to be looking for commonalities to help us keep moving forward, new ways to help us recognize what we can do to be more resilient and thankful. So please, if you're watching the video, put something in. And if you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, because I'm not seeing your comments if you're doing it live, you can still put something in the comments or the thread, and I would love to get back to make some comments when I see the video. Okay, so I'm going to move on, and hopefully I'll see some people put something in there that they let go. Because now we're going to go from the why, you, and yesterday, we're going to go to the experience. Because this is similar to what I'm talking about of what you let go. I want to know, what have you experienced over the last 2 weeks, over the last 2 months? What we got? Oh, Roger Carroll said, I let go of irritation with my brother. I let go of irritation with my brother. And you know what? And I want to let that be a generic statement because I happen to know Roger Carroll. And so, it's like to say, am I my brother's keeper? It doesn't matter whether you're talking about your maternal family or your global and spiritual family, your brothers and sisters. You have to let go of irritation with them and recognize sometimes that they are weak. They may be weaker than you are, depending on what the challenge is that you're dealing with. And so they don't need your anger. They need your release. And I'm not going to try to be all philosophical and a therapist or anything, but you have to let that go. Why do you let it go? So that you can continue on. That's what that's where the E in experience comes in. So think about some good things. What have you experienced in the last 2 weeks or 2 months? And again, I love how it just drops right in, because I know Roger Carroll. I was thinking about you even when I decided to ask this question, because I know in the last 2 months she's experienced becoming a grandmother. And so, and as you think about that, and the reason I say the last 2 weeks and the last 2 months is because I want to relate that to the last 2 years, because we sometimes we get so focused on COVID that we think that everything is going down, instead of recognizing what have we gained over these last 2 years. And we can start out by thinking, what have I gained over an experience over the last 2 weeks and last 2 months? And as Deborah said, I passed over the desert. See, that's one of the things that you've done in the last 2 weeks and 2 months and 2 years. This has been a storm. The COVID has been a storm in our lives, but we are so good at passing over deserts. And I hope, and now somebody say, well, if you spell it wrong, that's dessert. All right. But, you have to recognize that we have been through a lot. And we have experienced a lot of things. And as we give ourselves credit for, it takes us back to that positive self-talk. So think about some things that you've experienced over the last 2 weeks or 2 months, and put those in the thread. Please put those in the thread. And I'm going to keep moving on with our message so that we can still be on finish this in a timely basis. And I stay on the letter E because E is for emotions. And I want to remind you that no emotion is wrong. You should and even as Deborah talks about going over the desert, you should and still be going through anger, fear, anxiety, nervousness, eager anticipation, elation, joy, wonder, excitement, blushing, confidence. These are all emotions. And so no emotion is wrong. You see, it's the key is, here's how you have to, it's what you do with your emotions that put the stamp of bad or good on them. For instance, it's not always bad to be angry, as Roger Carroll talked about that irritation. It's not always bad to be angry. The length of the anger is what can be the problem. But you should still get angry, but you can't let the anger overtake you. It's okay that you are fearful. But the reality of the situation can be turned to a strength. So there's my affirmation: fear. Faith eventually attracts resources. If you hear it most when people talk about entrepreneurship, stepping out on faith. Weren't you scared to leave your job? It is scary. But eventually people see that you're committed to what you're doing in your life's mission, and then they find ways to support you and become a resource that you need. So faith eventually attracts resources. And lastly, you should recognize that anxiety and nervousness both come with that comment, but once I get started, it's going to be okay. So even if we're anxious, I'm scared about doing this, let's use public speaking. I'm scared about doing this, but once I get started, I'm going to be fine. And that's the same as being nervous about something. Once I get going, I'm going to be okay. So that's why I say no emotion is wrong. It's what we do with it that gets it the stamp of bad or good. And in every case, you can find a way to make it good. Let me go back to Roger Carroll and things that she's experienced. I have experienced real joy Not happiness. Oh, look at God, because I'm going to talk about happiness as the H, but that the joy that only comes from God. And then we're going to come back to that because I'm going to show, see, just, like they say, now we have never met before, right? No, we did not practice writing this glued together, did we, Roger Carroll? But watch how we have that connection. I love it. I love it. Okay, so that's the E, the experience and the emotions, because you even see some emotions in there with the experience. Experiencing real joy. Joy is an emotion. Happiness is an emotion because how we feel about them, but it has to come from God. And so cool because my next letter is A, and the A is for attitude. And I got to tell you, in my first book, I Found Out I'm Dying. Here's what I wrote in the intro. When we have a healthy attitude about life, we realize that physical immortality is not a reality. See, so I call you have to have a healthy attitude about life. And I think that will make the difference in that joy and happiness that you want to experience, and anything that you have to go through, the irritation, what else did I have? The blushing, the confidence. But you have to have a healthy attitude about enjoying life. Because even the book, this show, I wrote that book to show that sometimes we get caught up in the headlines and we miss the fine print, the subtitles in life. I found out I'm dying. Oh my God, somebody's going to die. Physically, we're all dying from the day we're born. Get over it. So once you find that out, you recognize that physically I'm not going to be here one day. Now we go back to that desert that Deborah said that she walked across. Now we go back to the fact that Tommy's going to experience a new year on January 10th. Now we go back to Lourdes and how she shared from Costa Rica and the memories and the moments that we've exchanged. See, now we go back to Roger Carroll's different types of feelings. See, and now we go back to whatever you've put in the thread, because I'm going to get a chance to look at it and share it. But you can look at it right now, because we also go back to what? That positive self-talk. That's where the attitude is going to make all the difference in the world. And there's the subtitle in the book. It is A Celebration of Life. See, so I found out I'm dying. So I'm not worried about dying. I'm concentrating on celebrating life. Since I know, now let's look at that yesterday and tomorrow scenario. Okay, if you get a diagnosis from the doctor that you have X amount of days to live, you say, oh well, that's where people start doing the bucket list, and well, I know I've got this much time and I need to do this before I go. Well, how about recognizing that the doctor can't really give you another 2 months to live? You could get a 2-month diagnosis and be gone in 2 weeks or 2 hours or 2 minutes. But so the diagnosis is from what Roger Carroll just said. It's that the joy that only comes from God, and God has confirmed that there one day from ashes to ashes, dust to dust. God has confirmed that you will not live forever. So you got the message already. So why not enjoy living this life? I found out I'm dying. A celebration of life. I'm celebrating all the time because I know that physically I won't be here. And that's why we have to recognize that the atmosphere is so important. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Because that's going to make a difference in your attitude of how you see death, and which then becomes much more important is how you see life. Okay? And who are you surrounding yourself with? Today, I posted about, if you saw my post on Facebook today, I posted about getting rid of negative people, and I turned the narrative around. Okay, here's what I posted. Do you realize that negative people don't want to be around positive people? So don't pause your personality. And here's how I turned that around. What I wrote in there, you can go back and read the full post, but what I wrote is, if you really want to get the positive people out of your life, don't spend time consciously avoiding them. While you're altering your schedule, path, and focus, you're actually giving them power by keeping them on your mind, which is really where your life lives. You're thinking about when they'll pop up, and when they do, you're readjusting your emotions to confirm that they ruin your vibe, etc. You're turning off your negative personality to get through the episode with them. You're letting them shine the only way they know how. You're trying to change someone or something that you have no control over. And then in parentheses, I wrote, go ahead, reread that. laugh, and see where the power lies. See, a lot of times we tend to, I put the word negative where we may put the word positive. See, so instead of saying, I want to get rid of, you want to get rid of the negative people out of your life, I put, if you really want to get rid of the positive people, because that's what I'm saying. The negative people really don't want to keep the positive people in their life. So you've got to take power, recognize they're saying, I want to get the positive people out of my life. So this is what I'm going to do, because here comes that positive person, Sporty King, talking about enjoying life. And that throws me off because I'm trying to make people deal with gloom and doom. So when he comes talking that stuff, this is what I'm going to do. It makes me uncomfortable. See, I make the negative person uncomfortable. I don't allow the negative person to make me uncomfortable. Goes back to what Roger Carroll said about the irritation. Let go of the irritation. Let the other person be irritated that you haven't thrown a fit of anger and lost your temper. See, that's what it's about. Because what does that last thing says? It says you are, how did I write it? You're trying to change someone or something that you have no control over. You have no control over somebody else's action, and you have no control over who they see themselves as. Only they can make that decision. If they have to decide to change. My pet charity is HeyUgly.com, and UGLY, ugly is UGLY, unique, gifted, lovable you. And they have a show called Choose to Change Radio. I'm going to put that link in the thread as well. I wasn't thinking of it till I just heard myself say choose. You know, they have Choose to Change Radio, which is a broadcast type of podcast with teenagers talking about how important change is and how to stay positive. So that's what you've got to do, is recognize you can't change somebody else, but what are you doing to change yourself? And that's why the atmosphere that you surround yourself with makes a difference. Take a minute and stop and see, I'm surrounding myself with Daphne. Happy new me and happy you 2022. Surround yourself with people like Daphne. Absolutely true regarding polar opposites. Yeah. So the negative and the positive, okay? So you have to know how to turn it into your favor. And so we go to the last letter, and the last letter is the H, and that is the happiness. And that, again, that's why I laugh, Roger Carroll, when I said you can't make this stuff up. All right, think about it. Add all of those things up, the Y, the E, and the A, woo, which is say, yay, aha, yay, which means yes, okay? But add all of those up and see what has contributed to your happiness. You see, what has contributed to your happiness? That's what you want to focus on. Not what has contributed to your sadness. We all got sadness. But what has contributed to your happiness? Remember, happiness is not the things we have, but the moments we share. There you go, Lordess. I told you had me come in there. And no, I'm not being naive. Things can get you into moments. But what are the things that bring you joy? Happiness is not the things that we have, but the moments that we share. Things can get us into some moments to share, but we have to focus. And that's why what Roger Carroll said, and that's why I said that, and I'll go back to it. It is the happiness is the joy that only comes from God. So yeah, you can have things to bring you happiness, but if you don't have the right happiness, that is the joy that comes from God, that's going to subtract from your saying, yeah. And that's what this is all about. So thank you for that, Roger Carroll. We all make it happen, all right? So that's where, Tommy, this is where I actually had in my mind to talk to you about my jersey in the background. Again, if y'all weren't on earlier, you know how when you buy a jersey, it has your name and then the number. So what I did when I ordered it, I had them put as my name, born in 19. Born in 19, and then my number is 55. So born in 1955. That's what I always want to be sure I'm celebrating. And that's what's contributing to my happiness. Though there are so many moments that I've had in my 66 years here on this earth with some of you, that is what makes a difference. And so what you have to do is recognize that you are part of the final H, and that is your health. which is the last and the best way to continue. Like I said, from that first thing, the number one thing is taking care of you, well, taking care of your health. And you have to, again, add all these other things up and then find the role that you play and can play and make them happen by taking care of yourself. What role do you play in making moments happy? That's what you have to think about. What role do you play? Why is everybody around me so happy? Because I'm doing this. And I'm doing this because I see this person doing that. So what role do you play? Again, when I go back to my military family and I say to them, pat yourself on the back, because I say to them, I don't just thank them for their service. I thank them for their answering the call. It's a high calling to serve, because America does what? It asks our military to turn their emotions on and off at the drop of an order, and they do. And so I say to them, how are you contributing? Because once they make that decision, it impacts their attitude. Once they have an attitude, it impacts everybody in their family that's associated, maternal and external family. So, so that's the same effect and impact that you have as well, okay? You pay mine, I'll pay yours, okay? Amen. And that's part of the role. I pat mine. Okay, there we go. You pat mine, you pat my back, and I'll pat yours. That's part of the role that you play. And again, I'm talking about, you have to. So again, go back to what we were talking about. If I'm telling myself I love me, now when I pat your back, who's patting your back? Someone who is whole, and the pat will be more sincere and it'll feel more wholesome. But that's what you got to do, is make sure that you pat your own back and take care of yourself. And that's why when you put it all together, means that you got to take care of yourself, ladies and gentlemen. I say it all the time. Take care of yourself by how you see yourself, the you, how you have to let go of yesterday and live for today, how you have to look at the experience that you've had just over the last 2 weeks and 2 months and 2 years and 2 decades. And then you have to have the right attitude about enjoying life, this gift that God has given you, the right atmosphere. Surround yourself with the right people. Remember, if you're positive, the negative people will stay away. You don't have to duck and dodge the negative people. You have to keep going forward with being positive and let them duck and dodge you. You can only change what's in your heart. And that's why there's the heart for H. And that is, again, what is a part of your happiness? What's true happiness? As Roger Carroll said, the joy. What's your true happiness? And it is taking care of your health. Take care of you. And what role do you play in taking care of everyone else? By taking care of yourself first. Because once you take care of yourself, you've heard me say it before, take care of your PMS, your physical, mental, and spiritual self. If you don't take care of yourself physically, how can you pick up a loved one who fell? If you don't take care of yourself mentally, how can you encourage someone to make a life-changing decision? How can you give them advice? And if you don't take care of yourself spiritually, how can you encourage someone to give it another try and overcome that fear and believe in themselves? How can you say, yeah? So thank you, and God bless you. Remember, when I say yeah, I always believe in taking care of myself, but I also say God's love really does undo everything. So whatever you've been through, let it go. Let it go. Let that irritation go. And recognize that you're okay and everything is going to be all right. I like to close my glue messages with reminding you to commit your spirit to constantly seek things and reasons to be thankful. That's how you say yeah. Commit your spirit to see things and reasons to be thankful. Because someone else is looking at the glass half full, half empty. You have to look at it as half full. And that becomes the key. So, right on, duck and dodge, righteous living if one can. It's the best that you can do. That's why you got my boy Mike Dog in New York, my brother. He says that he learned to just say, I'm doing the best that I can. And that becomes the key. Hey, what's going on, Marva, coming in from California? All right, so this has been Glue Wednesday. God's love undoes everything. Remember, you don't have to hump to get over on Wednesday. You have to keep it together every single day. And as I talk about health, I'm a stone purporter. Oh, and look at that, Marvelous, you're coming in from YouTube. Now I see how that works. Yay, I got a comment from YouTube. But WTF, wear the mask, wear the face mask. I believe it's so important that in terms of taking care of our health, we follow the CDC guidelines and do what we can to help other people by making sure that we're safe, get properly vaccinated if it possible. Because I know there are people who, based on their allergies, they can't do it right now. The key is do what you can to help us win this war. Because it's not, as we see, we thought it was going to be gone in a couple of months in 2020. It didn't. It wasn't. And so let's get in the trenches and make it happen. And so there we go with Marva's Amen, AMEN, a message that everyone needs. And now I get to see how this thing works, because it's going, I don't know if Marva's hearing me because she's hearing the broadcast, but her comment on YouTube came through here. Great. So if anybody commented on LinkedIn, it would have probably come through here as well. Hey, I'm learning some new technology. I don't mind sharing with you that I'm having a ball learning it, and you need to not mind doing the same, finding ways to be helpful and to help people enjoy their lives. So thanks again. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. Again, if you're watching the broadcast, go on and put some stuff in the thread. Doesn't matter where it falls in. We all love you. I'm going to do a couple of goodbyes as I wait to close out. So I got to thank you from Deb. See ya. That's my home girl. And look, all of y'all just hanging there. And somebody has put one of the emojis they put up was angry. So I don't know where that came in. But again, we don't know what that means. Are they angry that they see how other people do stuff? And that becomes another broadcast. Is we can't instantly decide that someone's against us. Sometimes the way someone conveys how they feel, we need the whole story. I call it listening to the paragraph, not the sentence. So someone could have clicked on anger because they wanted to say that, yeah, they hate to see how that stuff happens. So, but you say, oh man, they're angry. What's the matter? No. You don't know the story. Now they could be angry. But again, this is all part of what can you do? What can you do to say, yeah? Thanks. God bless you. And I'll see you next week. Ciao.